Chapter 7, North and South take different paths. These are the major concepts. Please take notes on your note cards in preparation for the test. First question is, analyze the impact of the Industrial Revolution on the way Americans lived. The Industrial Revolution was when machines took the place of hand tools, and also water and then steam power replaced people and horses in doing work. So this had a couple of kind of impacts. First, there were many inventions that also spurred the Industrial Revolution, but also as a result of. In a basic sense, it meant that goods were created faster and cheaper, transportation and communication was easier and quicker, and fewer workers were needed on farms. What this meant is, and in the South specifically, the cotton gin is important because it was the greatest source of wealth of the nation at this time, and it increased the value and use of slaves. So these inventions, the fact that the people and hand tools have been replaced by machines and steam and water power, meant that there was a movement of urbanization, specifically and mostly in the North, but also in the South a little bit. Factories moved to cities, followed by people moving from rural areas to find jobs. Also, millions of immigrants from Ireland and Germany came and worked in those factories. The factory conditions at this time were pretty horrendous. First, long hours, poor lighting, dangerous machinery, low pay, and child labor was also very common at this time. The next question is comparing the divergent paths taken by North and South prior to the Civil War. Meaning, what was the North like, what was the South? They took different paths, what was their differences? And similarities in some cases. First, we'll do the North. The geography was a very diverse landscape. Harbors in New England, fertile soil in the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys, and deforestation and mining as well in the Northeast. In economy, there were basically manufacturing and Industrial Revolution, new machines, factory production methods, and mechanical reaper made the Central Plains the breadbasket of the nation. So even though the South was mostly agrarian, most of the food was actually grown in the North. Next is transportation. The North had 20,000 miles of railroad track laid by 1860. National roads, canals, and like I said, railroads. In society, they were urbanizing. By 1860, it was still 6 out of every 10 people in the North still worked, were still considered rural, still worked in farming. But they were slowly moving to cities. Most of the cities were in the North, and most of the large cities were in the North. And unfortunately, at this time, African Americans and immigrants were discriminated against in the North. Next, we'll talk about the South. The South, their geography was a diverse landscape. They had fertile lowlands of the coastal plains. And this basically led to an agrarian society, mostly on agriculture. And basically, most people in the South were plantation owners. Most people were small farmers, and there were a few large plantations that had actually most of the slaves, most of the wealth, most of the political power. Eli Whitney's cotton gin, this invention made cotton king. It increased the importance of slavery in the South because slaves were needed to work cotton. And transportation versus, they had about 10,000 miles less railroad track than the North, at about 10,000 by 1860. Rivers crisscrossed the South, so there was little need for canals. They didn't build a lot of those. And their society was dominated by plantations and the institution of slavery at this time. Rich plantation owners, white farmers, and workers and slaves. That's the hierarchy in the South. It was pretty rigid compared to the North. And the South grew, one historian put it, they grew but did not develop. It